So this is angel messages. There's an angel for every degree of the zodiac, and there's an angel for each one of the days of the moon cycle. And this particular one this is from Cynthia Schlosser, and this was the 28th of Leo, the angels of the elements, and earlier this week. But the message was so important that I wanted to share it with you one more time. So 28 degrees of Leo, it's the angels of elements, and as you know, in dowsing and energy healing, working with the elemental forces is really important. And as I said many times before, that the sacred triune relationship between angels, elementals, and humans is really the new basis of what I would call Earth stewardship. So that is learning how to work with these forces to bring about change and transformation and help birth what I call the new earth, or what's been called the new earth, or another way of saying that is heaven on earth. So the angels are called precursor. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Takarosa, so Rosa, Rosa. Beloved, the element from which all elements come from is called Akasha. Akasha is originating, all-penetrating element from which emerges the other four elements of fire, air, earth, and water. Many miracles spoken of in the Holy Scriptures of different cultures and times are accomplished by experiencing the Akasha as self, with corresponding mastery of the four descending elements. Fire is controlled by will, air is controlled by thought, water is controlled by emotion, and earth is controlled by sensations. There are many intelligent beings that manifest within these elements. These beings have forms that consist of one or more of these densities and evolve through their incarnation there. These beings are spoken of as beings of the elements. They have been called gods or deities, salamanders, sylphs, undines, and gnomes, among many other names. Gods or deities are beings of Akasha, the original element. Of all mammals, humans are the only ones that have the ability to experience themselves as one with the original element. I and the Father are one. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added unto you. The kingdom of heaven is found within. Listen to the still voice within. Of all mammals, humans are the only ones that have whites of their eyes. Of all the mammals, it is said that humans are the only ones that emit light through these whites, in addition to receiving light through the iris that all mammals experience. So not only do we receive light, we transmit light. This is the basis of darshan, or the gaze of the master. That is why it was written, Know ye not that ye are gods? Man is made in the image and likeness of God. I and the Father are one. What ye do unto the least of these, you do unto me. The element of Akasha is the awareness of the unity with all. It is the unified field. Omnipresent, or Akasha, experienced in deep dreamless sleep each night. This is when the body heals. This is the delta brainwave of 0 to 4 oscillations per second. It also is predominant in infancy. By going within and seeking the kingdom of heaven, the delta brainwave becomes part of our conscious awareness. This is the basis of samadhi, oneness with divine being and oneness with all that is. Out of pure being, the Akasha, a desire arises. This desire is the element of fire. In ancient writings, beings of fire are called salamanders. They dance in the flames of the fire. Salamanders are beings of fire, our will and intent and electricity. Out of desire, a visualization of the image arises. The mind then clothes itself in this visualized image and contemplates it. Ideas are generated about this image. The mind is the element of air. Inner thoughts. The mind operates in the theta brainwave between the range of 4 to 7 oscillations per second. Theta is the dominant vibration in childhood. Ye must be as little children to enter the kingdom of God. Sylphs are elemental beings of mind, the air elemental. From these ideas, emotions about ideas and desires are generated. Undines are beings of emotion, the water element of consciousness. Emotions are magnetic. They contain compressed information and attract corresponding realities into form on the physical plane. Emotions are elemental beings of the water element. So you see, in the whole stage of creation or manifestation or wizardry or incantations or clearings using dowsing, these steps are really, really clear that it is the desire, it is the will, it's the fire within, it's the desire to know, it's the creative element, right? That brings about the fire within. It stirs up the air, it stirs up the thought form, and the thought starts to concentrate on the image of the fire and starts to bring about the manifestation into reality. The motions that are brought into it are magnetic, right? They're the water elements, and they start to bring it into form. So emotions are magnetic. They contain compressed information and affect corresponding realities into form on the physical plane. In other words, they attract molecules and particles together. Through that intention, you manifest into the physical plane that which you're emoting. Emotions are elemental beings of the water element. Beings of the physical plane take emotions and outpicture them into forms and situations in time and space with length, width, breadth, and weight. Gnomes are beings of the earth, the material element of consciousness. Elemental beings have great power and cooperate and obey enlightened people that look at them through the eyes of unity, of flowing divine love. When you work with elementals with love, they have nothing better to work with with humans to bring about change and transformation and to help birth the new earth. Remember that the first element is Akasha. Akasha is the element of omnipresence, the unified field of energy, the subtle pre-matter of creation. It is experienced in the deep delta brainwaves of the infant self and of deep dreamless sleep each night. Learn to access this state in meditation, to work with the beings who live in this state. Here, too, you will experience yourself as a pure being that is one with the divine being and all of creation, just as they do. With this element, it is possible to heal, bless, and communicate with anyone, anywhere, anytime, on any dimensional time frame, past, present, future, and any reality, parallel lifetime, past, present, and future. Also accessed in the delta brainwave state are not as deep as the states of Akasha, which is the realm of the fire beings, which are entities whose awareness is of divine will, intention, faith, enthusiasm, electricity, and the visualization and omnipotence. Every desire, will, visualization, or intention activates fire elements or the fire of fire. The beings of fire, the salamanders, embody mastery of will, power, faith, and visualization. Visualization and will leads to the next element of air, which is a state of deep inner thought of contemplation, of which has been previously willed in by the fire element. Deep inner thought is the theta brainwave state that is dominant in childhood and occurs at any age in the act of dreaming, in sleep, meditation, and fantasy, and using the imagination. The elemental beings incarnate into bodies of the air element, and whose awareness is that of the imagination, visions, and contemplation are known as sylphs. Will and deep inner thought, the delta and theta brainwave states, are the realms of the elements of fire and air. Will and thought are masculine or electric in nature. When understanding the elements, it becomes obvious that there is fire of fire, fire of air, fire of water, and fire of earth. Deep knowledge about what is willed, visualized, or desired are manifestations of fire in the realm of the mind. Since mind is the air element, thoughts about will would therefore be warm air. Flowing emotions of faith, courage, enthusiasm, will, and desire are manifestations of fire in the element of water. This is warm water. Actual physical fire, heat, and electricity are the manifestations of fire in the element of earth. The element air manifests as workings of mind, of thought, concepts, beliefs, facts, and ideas. The beings who incarnate with bodies of air, the sylphs, evolve through ever greater mastery of thought and concepts. Thoughts, ideas, and knowledge about ideas themselves are the element of air working through air. Thoughts and ideas about flowing emotions, magnetism, and the change process are the elements of air manifesting in the element of water. This is cool air. Thoughts, ideas, and knowledge about the physical world are air manifesting in the element of of earth. This is heavy air. The beings and elements of water and earth are beings of emotions and of physical forms. Emotion and physical forms are both feminine and therefore are both magnetic in nature. In mastering the beings of the elements, a person learns to flow with emotions to control the beings of water, the undines. The undines work with emotions and magnetize universal energy into whatever forms have been visualized in the kasha and fire and contemplated in air. Beings of water, the undines, respond to the mastery of emotions. In water, the elements of fire, air, water, and earth exist first as fire emotions, or emotions about desires and will and power. They also exist as air emotions, which are emotions about ideas and beliefs and thoughts, and as water emotions, which are emotions about emotions, and as earth emotions, which are emotions about physical forms. Flowing emotions themselves are magnetic powers. Traditional Native Americans and other original societies have very effective ways of teaching children to identify with emotions of fire, air, water, and earth. They are skilled in the art of manifestation and know that to manifest anything into the physical plane requires skills and mastery of feelings and emotions. And as the quote says, the drums will always beat loudly in our hearts, even though the noise of the world. And every time your feet touch our Mother Earth, our souls will feel the pull of those who walk before us. William Windwalker. To control fire, emotions of courage, excitement, power, faith, and strength are required. To control water and the beings of water, surfing or flowing with emotions and keeping them pure is necessary. Just as stagnant water is poisonous, so too are blocked emotions. Flowing cleans water. It spins the water molecules that the surface tension is created, impurities let go. That's when you're dowsing, use 995 or you spin your pendulum counterclockwise, which breaks that surface tension with the negative or those molecules of impurities. They drop out of the water and leave the water pure, both with inside of you, because 90% or 80% to 90% of you is water. So using a pendulum to clear the impurities out of your own inner waters is extremely valuable as well. That's why we do the deep pendulum clearing. Emotions are similar. Instead of acting out destructively painful emotions, the key is to flow them safely. That's why the book club on the book, letting go, is so important. When you let go of emotions and dwell with them, when you try not to fix or change or dwell on them, but just sit with them, they will dissipate usually in 20 minutes. The stronger emotions like loss of a loved one or those types of emotion may take a longer periods, may take 3 or 4 20-minute sessions. But the thing is not to try and change your emotions, not to try and control them, push them down, bury them, ignore them, or put your head in the sand like the ostrich, but rather to sit with them and feel them and watch them dissipate as they move through your body and are grounded back into the earth, just like the electricity is grounded by having a positive grounding wire running into earth. Bringing wounded emotions into healing also heals wounded beliefs and thoughts caused by them. This heals physical realities associated with them. Emotions of fluidity and flowing change are required Water demonstrates how one element takes on 4 different forms of densities, such as water appearing as steam, vapor, liquid, and ice. To control beings of material forms, flowing emotions of solidity, permanence, weight, measure, space, and number are required. In working with the elements, mastery of fire, air, water, and earth are all necessary, regardless of which realm you're focusing on. If you wish to control fire, for example, first experience yourself as one with all that is, one with the divine being itself. Now focus on being one with the divine blazing faith, intent and desire, with heat and expansion, with unstoppable faith and conviction. Praise this state of omnipotence, will, and desire. In this state, connect with beings of fire and feel your oneness with them. Give thanks. If you're working with a forest fire, for example, give thanks for any present situation and love the fire with unconditional, all-encompassing love. For this emotional state of gratitude and love is the primary transmuting force of healing and change. Remember, the fire is in the midst of transforming all that no longer serves on the planet Earth. So helping it by loving it and giving it unconditional love so that it can bring its action to successful conclusion, so it can do its transformation not on the physical plane, but on the emotional plane, on the air plane, where it does less damage on the physical plane, is really how you as an earth steward can work with the fire element, which particularly at this time is raging through the Amazon jungle, which is the lungs of the planet. So this is how you work with the fire elemental. You thank it. You do the Ho'oponopono prayer. I love you. I'm sorry that humans do not understand the need for the transmutive force of energy, both within themselves and in the world around them. I love you. I'm sorry on behalf of man. Forgive us, for we know not what we do. And thank you for the work that you're bringing about to help birth the new world. And for this, we're truly grateful. And in that way, you release the energy of the fire to continue to do its transformative work and to move off the physical plane back into the other dimensions where it is less damaging. But still, the transformation can occur. So give thanks for all things, for that is my will concerning you. All things work for good for those who believe. Do you know that some pine cone seeds are so tightly bound that only the blazing heat of a fire will allow them to burst and open and sprout? The Indians controlled brush fires in the forest to allow these seeds to sprout, and the mature trees were not hurt. And that's one of the problems about trying to control fire that we have in our day and age, is that we have so much trash in the forest, in the understory, by suppressing fire, that this debris increases on the forest floor. And so when a fire does come through from a lightning strike or from a careless human being who lets a fire get out of control, then it's so hot that it not just scorches the tree, but climbs the tree, goes to the ground, and has a crown fire that jumps from crown to crown to crown, and now we lose the whole forest. So again, fire in moderation is important to regenerate pine cones in a pine forest. Repressing of fires, fire suppression in a pine forest leads to disaster and for the whole forest to be burned down. So again, being an earth steward is knowing how to act in accordance with the natural flow and flow of Mother Earth, and to know the timing that she uses in order to bring about change and transformation. When we impose our will, our human will, against the divine flow of Mother Earth and Gaia, then we are a problem. We're not part of the solution. Thank the fire for all the good known or unknown that it is making possible. Flow with emotions or sincere gratitude for the fire. Now speak to the beings of the fire, the law of one, asking them to do what they do only in ways that are the highest good of all concerned. The law of one is the original law of creation and is the supreme law of all laws in all dimensions and in all realities of space-time. The law of one is we are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When is helped, all is helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all that is, I asked only the highest good of all concerned happen, and I give thanks that this is done, so be it. It is so. In this way miracles happen. All that I do, you shall do and more. The intelligent beings of the fire now follow the law of one, and do only that which is the highest good of all concerned. In studying the virtues of the letters of the name Ta, Kar, A, Rosa, go within to your own microcosm, seeing yourself as a tiny dot in your solar plexus with your own body, a huge universe around you. Now, the important thing to know in these angel messages that every angel for every degree of the zodiac has its own name. And each letter of the name has a certain vibrational frequency, just like every letter in your name and your name has a certain frequency. It's your calling card to the universe. When you say, I, Tyson Bannigan, or you state your name, in my holy name, that's your calling card. You're saying to the universe, this is my vibrational frequency and I'm showing up. But each one of those letters has its own vibrational frequency and its own intent. And each one of those has a sound, and each sound, a vibration, and each one of them has a color. Sound, color, vibration are all intimately, of course, connected. That's why when we do, sound healing, our light healing, our voice healing with the voice is all connected to vibrational frequency. Okay, so each letter has a vibrational frequency. Each letter has a spin frequency, and each one has a color. So I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail with each one of these letters here. I'll give you the reference to that so that you can look it up. But the important thing to know is that when you use the name, when you call the name of anything, you're giving it power. So when meditating on the 5 virtues, visualize, feel, and sense the sun shining with heat and tremendous expansion filling your head. So each one of these vibrational frequencies has like an element or a sun attached to the color. So let's go back and just see. The letter T is a fire letter, and it's the region in the head. These are tiny suns, the divine virtues of will, the fire element. And the letters Sh, T, D, K, and S are fire letters. The letter C, the spiritualization of matter, is both a fire and air element of virtue. And T, the first letter of our name, is the virtue of high inspiration and is found in the head, shining as a brown-black sun. And K, which is the virtue of omnipotence as a quality, is a silvery blue sun. And S, which is the virtue of omnipotence as a quality that penetrates all, is a purple-red sun. And D is the virtue of love to create and is a dark blue sun. Sh is both original omnipotence and all-penetrating omnipresence together and shines as a blazing red sun. And so when it says, when meditating on the 5 virtues, visualize and feel and sense these suns shining with heat and tremendous expansion filling your head. With the out-breath, bring the rhythm of the breath natural. See the brown-black light, will and heat of high inspiration going out through the pores of your skin over the right kidney and feeling the outer situation by clear visualization of what you desire. Mold it to the area to be affected by your control of the fire element. Okay, so this is the way you can heal, both inwardly, outwardly, heal another human being, or heal a situation on the planet or the planet herself. When the in-breath, with the in-breath, see this radiance coming back through the same pores of the skin and filling your head. Keep the rhythm of the breath natural. High inspiration gives control over the elements in the body, and through the breath, it gives control over the elements in the outer world. With this virtue, you will receive divine guidance concerning the situation. When you're finished, dissolve the dark brown light in the body to protect the natural balance of the elements in the body. Here's a picture of all those different suns, right? All those different parallel universes that you're bringing together inside of yourself. You may also do this with the letter K, which is omnipotence passing through the pores of the skin over the left ear, and S, all penetrating power, passing through the pores of the skin over the gallbladder. With D, the mysteries of creation, and the dark blue color passes through the pores of the skin over the right ear. With Sh, the blazing red light passes through the pores of the skin over the brain. Through the virtue of wisdom, letter A, clairvoyantly and clairaudibly connect with the fire elements, the beings of fire that are known as salamanders. Release any imperfections through the virtue of the Amal A, and love them with omnipotent courage and faith and unconditional all-encompassing love. Omnipotent courage and faith is the virtue of the letter K. Command the fire to do whatever is the highest good of all concerned in the present situation. Follow inner guidance with the letter R. See the fire through the eyes of divine love and enliven its perfect, harmonious expression that brings justice and satisfaction to all of creation. This is the action of the virtues of Amal A and O. Imagine, feel, sense the all-penetrating divine will and the fire doing whatever is visualized. Release any imperfection of divine being for transformation, the virtue of Amal A or AE. The process can be done in turn with all of the elements, not just fire. Meditate with air and the beings of the air, which are known as Sylph, or water and the beings of water, known as undines, and earth and the beings of earth, which are known as gnome. Using appropriate will, visualization, ideas, feelings, emotions, and sensations for each. The manifestation of anything using the elements can be accomplished in this way personally by invoking the spirits of the elements to help you. Dominate over all that is created has been given to the children of divine beings. We inspire understandings and commanding the spirits of the element, divine love conquers all. These states of consciousness are the true inheritance of the children of divine creator. Each person is made in the image and likeness of divine beings. This applies to spirit, mind, emotions, and body. The time has come for heaven to manifest on earth. So now is the time to master the four elements and establish miracles in this beautiful world. When you call out to the angels of the miracles of the elements, we guide you through the following 8 steps to mastery. These 8 steps are the virtues associated with the 8 letters that form our name. With each of these divine virtues, mastery of them in the fourfold manner of well-being, visualization, ideas, emotion, and sensation, the quadpolar magnet is necessary. The miracles of Takarosa. The first step is initiation into the highest inspiration with special reference to all legal matters of this principle with the letter T. The first letter T is ancient language, in the ancient language represents high inspiration with all the legal matters of this principle. That's why when you call a court of atonement and you call for the law of one, it must be so. It must be done according to the law of one, which is do no harm. And it must be done according to the most benevolent outcome of all concerned. This is an unwritten universal law. In the intellectual, this virtue of the T awakens remarkable inventive faculties and memory. In meditating on the virtue, first experience yourself as a pure being, at one with divine being, with all of creation, and see yourself as a tiny dot in your solar plexus with the rest of your body as an infinite swirling universe all around you. Meditate with focus on high inspiration from divine mind. Do this with the sensation of warmth and fire filling the body. See a brown-black color shining forth from a tiny sun in the head region. Hear the musical note of F and feel yourself having mastery over all the elements. Feel this radiance creating and sustaining the right kidney. With the out-breath, see and feel this radiance passing through the pores of the skin over the right kidney and feeling the outer universe. On the in-breath, sense the radiance coming back in through those pores and filling the body. Keep the rhythm of the breath natural as you perform this meditation to prevent breathing disorders and dissolve the brown-black light in the head when you are finished to protect the natural balance of elements in the body. By performing this meditation, a connection is made between the universal mind and the individual mind, so they become one. The second step is immersion into the highest wisdom. The sound, the soft awe of a sigh, the sound of the highest wisdom and enlightenment that can be endowed to a child of divine being. The virtue gives intellectual clairvoyance, clairaudience, eloquence, musical and artistic gifts. The color is light blue. The sensation is ease. The musical note is G. And the part of the body that is formed by virtue is the lungs. When a person unites in meditation with this virtue, mind becomes impregnated with the purity of all ideas in their original form. On the physical plane, this virtue gives control over the spirits of the air and the gift of levitation. And the Almalt A or AE, the realization of wishes regarding physical matter, no matter where this physical matter is fire, air, water, or earth, is subjugated to this virtue. The sound of this letter, the long A, is the cosmic language. In the cosmic language is the virtue of the origin mystery of life and death regarding their transformation. By meditating on this virtue, a child of God becomes convinced that in reality death does not exist, but the so-called death is only a transformation from one state to the other. Also will come enlightenment on the cause of this transformation. With this comes the ability to master all negative spiritual beings and all spheres and planes with regard to their scope of action. The purpose for which negative beings have been created becomes clear. Since in the original principle all beings are like, each being created by divine providence to fulfill a certain task, there's no dissolution, there's no dissimulation of negative beings, for from the enlightened person's mind, a view of everything is pure. And from this we learn and understand that the negative emotions or negative spirits or those things that seem to harass us or inhibit our growth are actually our teachers, our strongest teachers, and that they are here on our own behest in order to help us on the path of enlightenment. And so really understanding that there is no coincidence, that everything is preordained, that we set up for our own soul evolution, and that when we're confronted with something that we don't like or somebody who is harassing us, we can turn inwardly and ask ourselves, what is the lesson that is here for me to learn? Because once I learn it and understand it, I can release that being, that spirit, that situation, and it no longer needs to appear in my life because the lesson has been learned. Here the saying is, to the pure one, everything is pure, becomes plain. There is no negative beings. It would be impossible to distinguish between good and evil. And if there were no passions, there would also be no virtues. Okay? So our ability to judge, particularly because most decisions about what happens in our life are made on the soul level, we have no idea when we look around us on the third dimension about why somebody is doing something. We can think that we know, but in actual fact, what seems perverse to us may be the most difficult path of enlightenment or difficult situation that person has created for themselves to have the deepest learning and transformation occur in this incarnation. And from us, it looks horrific, and for them, it's the greatest gift they can give themselves on the soul level is to work through this difficult situation. So it's not for us to judge. This virtue confirms the words contained in the Bible, through night to light, the deep symbolic meaning of which now becomes clear. Intellect ability is gained to see through all thoughts, actions, and wishes concerning matter and becoming their absolute master. In the emotions, this virtue represents desires, passions, and the inclination to self-satisfaction, etc. A person who masters this virtue in their emotions becomes absolute master and ruler of all desires and passions. Also, a person is able to not cling to mental, emotional, or material virtues and objects when they are no longer the highest good of all concerned. This means complete independence and freedom and fulfills the saying, bind yourself and you will be free. On the material level, this virtue is one of the most materialized. No matter whether you evolve it in the mind, the feelings of the kasha, or the material world, the earth is influenced by it to a large extent. The ability to infuse matter with divine virtues is heightened. The color of this virtue is loamy brown, the musical note is C, the element is earth, so it has the sensation of weight. The anus is formed through this virtue. The letter K, the third initiation of that is omnipotence. As such, omnipotence manifests itself as the highest power imaginable. This virtue will reveal itself as the all-embracing power by which you'll be able to work direct miracles in the micro as well as in the macro. This virtue is manifest in the Kasha principle as the highest and purest light, which is analogous to the fire principle. This corresponds to the principle of faith on the mental level, courage and endurance on the emotional level, and mastery of the earth on the physical level. And the letter A is the fourth step. We again immerse you in the highest wisdom and illumination. This gives complete control over the element of air and the air silks. Then transformation of imperfection is again enlivened, releasing whatever needs to be changed into another state. Alma A at the AE. R, the fifth step, we initiate you with the divine virtue of independence and freedom, of following inner guidance. By the time you have achieved the state of maturity, by which your feelings of independence have been transformed into an absolute state of security and impeccability. Mentally, you will have an eminent mind, an emotion of freedom, of will and action. Not only this, but also the state of maturity in which you will never violate a law, having yourself become a master of all law. In spite of your freedom of will, you will find yourself willing to subject yourself freely to divine providence and accept missions to serve divine providence with deep humility, immense gratitude, and the highest devotion without losing your feeling of absolute freedom of will in any way. Such great integrity, ingenuity will proceed from this, and you will be able to comprehend any knowledge quickly and without difficulty. The letter of this virtue is golden. The element is earth. So it has the sensation of weight. The musical note is C, and the left side of the nose is formed of it. And almost O, or AE, or OE, and O is the sixth step. You will experience through our help the ability to see through the eyes of divine love, and therefore transmute anything into its perfect divine blueprint. This brings justice and harmony to all. And the almost O EU, Akasha. In the principle of consciousness penetrating all, the almost O oscillation evokes the most profound cognition, which can only be brought about by love divine. By the help of this, a person gets to know all the possibilities of transformation of the spirit, all the systems of ways of serving this end, and all knowledge concerning transformation in all other fields. She is informed about everything that deriving from the act of creation has to pass through all the mode of transformation to be reunited. A person must attain all the faculties that are offered by this profound cognition made possible by divine love in the principle of conscious penetrating all, and must make use of all possibilities in order to get convinced that they cannot be described by words, but must be experienced and lived through. Command and say your name, then it must be so. Astro-emotional level. In the feelings of virtue, profound cognition brought about by love divine develops a faculty of perfect astral projection and the mastery of all occult and magical phenomena that have reference to transformation, so that a person may, for instance, assume any desired vibration in the emotional body without being recognized by other beings, and with only divine providence seeing through him or her. Apart from this, a person is able to transform any emotional oscillation into oscillation he wants and do the same with any element. So yes, you get to play emotions like notes on a piano. When it has no more validity than other, it's not that the black notes are negative and the white notes are positive. It's not that the lower notes are lower in, lower in any virtuous statement or judgmental statement than the higher notes. They're all part of the symphony, and they all make up creation. And even the silence is part of what is needed to accentuate the notes. And we understand that all notes, like emotions, can be played on the piano, and not to get swept away by them, but they are actually our ability to play them and to create with them, then we are free to do so. So it says, apart from this, a person is able to transform any emotional oscillation into an oscillation he wants to do the same with any element. So he could change any element from one form to the other. Material. When mastered in the physical body, the profound cognition brought about by the love divine leads to perfect knowledge of Kabbalistic, the use of will, thought, emotion, and sensation alchemy in the material world. A person is taught the true preparation and charging of the philosopher's stone in the physical sense. She can influence at will any oscillation, atomic oscillation, electric oscillation, by Kabbalah, and she is able to transform it into oscillation desired by him or her, which is why you do spinning a pendulum or working with dowsing, is you get to transform vibrationally and frequently through one form into another. So you can transform what no longer serves you into vibrational frequencies that do serve you, right? You become the wizard. You become the master of your own destiny. You become the one that can transform the world. And from that level, you can, with the help of others that can do the same, create the new earth. You can transform that, the earth that we live in, that no longer serves us, into the new earth that would be one of heaven on earth. Therefore, she perfectly masters the laws of transmutation and is able to transform any metal into gold, any stone into precious stone, etc., if desired. I mean, Sai Baba was really good at that. He used to manifest things right before people's eyes and then give them the stone that he brought into manifestation. Or I know mostly he did stones that I'm aware of. By the help of the virtue, the person is furnished with many faculties of which she cannot even dream of now, and which non-initiates would regard as absolutely impossible. Helmut O is dark orange, has the musical note of D sharp, is the element of the Akashic earth, which has the sensation of weight penetrating everything. Ovaries and the testicles are formed by this virtue of the profound cognition brought about by love divine. In healing, heal the left ovary first and then the right one. O, this opens the initiation into the original principles of divine justice. Mentally, you will be able to give expression to the absolute legality of harmony in all four basic qualities of the elements. You have a high power of judgment and the ability to comprehend spiritually any legality, any inference by divine providence for the sake of justice. You will never be able to condemn anybody unjustly. This will bring about the abilities to create any change in the emotional situation that you can find yourself in and have absolute success and happiness on all levels. This is why bringing about the court of atonement or the cords of atonement allows that law of one, do no harm, and the most benevolent outcome for all concerned can be done at the angelic level without human interference. The sound of this virtue of divine justice, this virtue has the ultramarine blue color, the musical note of C, and is the earth element, so it has a sensation of weight. It is formed in the throat and windpipe. The seventh step, which is S, is initiation into all-penetrating power, all power. In contradiction to the omnipotence we spoke of before, this all power is quantitative in form in comparison to the omnipotence, which is qualitative in form. This all power is to be understood substantially, whereas omnipotence is to be regarded as the highest divine will. With all power, you get into contact with the most subtle substance of the divine spirit, i.e. with the original divine fire, which works as a substantial power in everything that has been created by divine providence. The seventh step is initiation to the all-penetrating power of S. In contradiction to the omnipotence we spoke of before, this all power is quantitative in form in comparison to omnipotence, which is qualitative in form. This all power is an understanding substantiality, which omnipotence is to be regarded as the highest divine virtue. With all power, you get into contact with the most subtle substance of the divine spirit, i.e. with original divine fire, which works as a substantial power in everything that has been created by divine providence. Omnipotence, on the other hand, is manifested in the original idea as the original virtue of the first divine principle in all kingdoms and in everything that has been created. Oneness with all power gives mastery over the fire principle of desire and will and brings about a state of clairvoyance in the purest form. Complete control over consciousness results from this. The color of this virtue is purple-red. Its musical note is G sharp, is a fire element of will, and so it has a sensation of warmth. The gallbladder is part of the body that is formed by it. A and almost A, or AE. And finally, the eighth step, we again, for the third time, immerse you into the highest wisdom, enlightenment, and transformation of all imperfection, which is called miracles. Okay, so it goes on to say the names and this is the footnotes. The names and meanings of angel groups come from the Kabbalah, which is a very ancient set of teachings which together form a common precursor or root to three of the world's religions, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Each degree of the zodiac is ruled by a high being of the heavenly host in the zone girdling the earth, and the angels who work with him or her. The being and the angels share the same name. This name is a key to their power and influence. Name phrases or sections in the angels' messages are quoted or paraphrased from the books of Franz Bardon. Information of the heavenly hosts of the zone girding the earth is referenced from the practice of magical evocation, and it is ISBN number 3-9213338-02-6. And the information of the divine virtues in the letters are referenced from the keys of the true Kabbalah. Published is Dieter Rieckberg and Germany. These books have very important information for these studies. I highly recommend you get the books. They're not the easiest things to read. In fact, they're quite dense and difficult to read because there's so much information. But what I do encourage you to do is click the link and join this group. So once again, as we close, the law of one is the original law of creation, and is the supreme law under all laws in all dimensions. The law of one. We are one. When one is harmed, all is harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all that is, I ask that only the highest good of all concerned happen, and I give thanks for this to be done. So be it. It is so. Okay. And the link, I'll put it in the show notes. The link to join the group is just put into into Yahoo, Spiritus Angel Messages in Yahoo. And the other Yahoo group is Loving Pure Love. Okay, so those are the two Yahoo groups that I really encourage you to join and be part of these daily messages, angel message, one for each degree of the zodiac and one angel for each day of the lunar cycle. All right, this is Tyson Bannigan, the Energy Detective, and this was an adjunct to The Healing Hour. Bye for now. The Healing Hour, brought to you every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. During the show, you can phone in toll-free in North America, 1-866-369-7464 or 1-866-dowsing. The Healing Hour is live on Facebook, hosted by the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy and sponsored by the Facebook page, The Healing Arts Academy. Produced by The Wellness Show, and until next Tuesday, same time, same place, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.